Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining in. Today with Bridget, I'm here to have a very interesting and insightful Q&A session with Survi Maheshwari. She is a qualified chartered accountant who passed out in 2017, post which she started working with Grant Thornton, and currently she's working with KPMG in the financial due diligence department. Today, we are here to ask her a few questions regarding the National Pension Scheme and know a little more about it. So, Surbi, my first question for you is to let the viewers know a little more about what NPS is all about.
Sure, Dara. Hi, thanks a lot for a warm welcome. And Shirley, so today we're gonna talk about national pension scheme, or in that way we say the new pension scheme. So basically, when we hear about pension, it's always that the government employees used to receive pension, and it's kind of a fixed amount, monetary amount which we receive post retirement. But there's a difference between an old pension scheme and a new pension scheme. So previous to 1st Jan 2004, government employees were getting OPS, that is a old pension scheme, under which they were getting the pensions amount. But
Right.
post 1st Jan 2004, government has introduced a new pension scheme, which is for the government employees previously. It was only for government employees, but then post 2009, it is open to all the citizens of India who can invest in NPS. So basically, if we talk about today, in today's scenario, employees who have joined post 1st Jan 2004 in a government organization, they are still getting pensions through an old pension scheme, but post 1st Jan 2004, everyone can invest. I mean, for post 2009, they can invest in NPS, which is under a new pension scheme.
Okay. Okay. I think, yeah, that was a very insightful um, answer. I want to ask you now that the new pension scheme has come in, what are the major differences that you feel exist between the old pension scheme and the new pension scheme?
Yeah, that is very interesting because the old pension scheme which people used to get, which the government employee used to get earlier, was only fixed, and it was a fixed amount, it was a fixed monetary amount which the employer used to contribute. But under
Right.
NPS, it's kind of an investment scheme for all citizens of India. So people can actually invest their income, they can claim deduction on the same, as well as it, kind of it is kind of a saving for their retirement plans. So there's a major difference in NPS and OPS. Is basically it was fixed, it was not market driven, it did not have any market returns. While in
Right.
NPS we have the market returns as well. So it's when you say it's an investment, it's a saving for retirement, but you get investments on that returns as well. So this is the major difference in your NPS and OPS.
Right. Thank you for
I
the
hope.
answer. Yeah. I also wanted to ask you that how is it that people can go about opening their accounts under the NPS scheme, and what are the different types of accounts which exist?
Surely. So, first of all, I would like to answer that the NPS is basically regulated by an authority, which is a PFRDA authority, Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority of India. So, under PFRDA, there's a trust which is an NPS trust, who is mainly responsible and accountable for all the pension subscribers in India. So, under an NPS trust, there's a further bifurcation. They have divided their pension scheme who distributes. These are called so these pension fund managers. So we in India we have defined 8 pension fund managers. So it's kind of a banks which distributes their pension schemes to the subscribers. So when we talk about a pension account, we need to open a pension account, which is a tier 1 account or a tier 2 account, but we need to get a PRAN, which is a permanent resident account number, when you open a pension fund account. So what is a PRAN, which you definitely need, which is mandatory to you need to get it before opening a pension fund account. It's a 12-digit number. It is assigned to every subscriber who opens an account with the NPS Trust. So the basically all these accounts are being handled by NSDL, which is a National Security Depository Limited. record keeping agency, so they take care of all the NPS accounts. People can open two type of account in NPS. It's a tier 1 account and a tier 2 account. So the difference between these two are that the tier 1 account, people can invest up to a particular limit, but they claim they can also they can claim deductions under a tier 1 account. I mean, so if you now you can claim deductions under Income Tax Act, you can claim deduction under these account only for tier 1 account. However, as per the new Finance Act bill, we have a tier 2 account in which people can claim deduction in this account too. However, they need to have a lock-in period for 3 years. So
Okay.
earlier it was a saying that you can only claim deduction for a tier 1 account, but now you can have a tier 2 account claim deduction as well, provided you have a lock-in period for 3 years in the tier 2 account.
Okay.
So
Great.
that would be one of the major differences. But apart from that, tier 1 has a lot of restrictions on withdrawals, which is directly related to the NPS rules. However, in tier 2 account, you can withdraw your money, or you can have different type of pension schemes in which you can invest your money. So it's kind of a more flexible account when we talk about tier 2. However, tier 1 comes with restrictions. So, but yeah, sorry, one thing which I would like to mention is that when a person opens a account, he
Yeah.
needs to mandatorily have a tier 1 account. So if a subscriber does not have a tier 1 account, he cannot open a tier 2 account. So it's an optional. Tier 2 account, it's kind of an optional account, but tier 1 has to be mandatorily open, which can be opened by both NRI or a resident of India.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the
Yeah.
answer. I think now that you've told everyone, what NPS is and the difference between the NPS and OPS scheme, can you also tell us that why should one invest in an NPS scheme and who is it actually beneficial for?
Okay, so that actually, so NPS comes with a lot of restrictions also. However, it's market driven. So it would not be a direct answer to the one that, okay, so this we should directly invest in NPS or we should not. It's kind of an evaluating factor. But yeah, because a government government is promoting an NPS scheme. So they have given an additional benefit of 50,000 under Section 80CCD2. Sorry, it's 80CC2 1B, which they have given an additional 50,000 claim benefit. So a government is promoting NPS account. People should invest in NPS. However, NPS comes with a lot of restrictions on withdrawals, that you cannot, withdraw money post 60, once you have attained the age of 60 years, or if you are, and that too, you cannot just withdraw 100% of the amount. You can just withdraw up to 60%, and 40% needs to be mandatorily invested in an annuity plan. So, I would not just comment on the direct investment in NPS. That needs to be evaluated on a person-to-person factor. But it could be one of the beneficial investment plan when we talk about saving for the future.
Right, right. Yeah, very rightly said. So, is there anything else other than this that you would like to add on, which you haven't covered about the NPS scheme or any of its other relevant benefits?
I would majorly, make people aware about the deductions which are available to them and the withdrawals which are available to them. So the deductions, so it's not only when we talk about NPS that the salaried people can only invest. It is for the self-employed as well. Self-employed can also invest in NPS. They have a section for that. However, they can just invest up to a limit of 80 CCE, which the section provides that up to 1.5 lakhs. So I would say that for salaried people, they can invest up to 10% of their basic plus DA, but for self-employed, they can invest up to 20% of their GTI, which is a gross total income. So they can invest up to that limit. They have particular claim deductions, which are under various sections, which is first is under Section 80C up to a cap limit of 1.5 lakhs. They have
Yeah.
another 80 CCD2, in which the employer contributions to the NPS scheme. So with NPS, the government has introduced a scheme in which the employer can also invest, and the benefit of which can be claimed by an employee, which is over and above the 1.5 lakhs deduction. There's 80CCD1, which is in which a person can claim deduction of an additional of 50,000 rupees. That is another, which is a kind of a promotion to by the government that people should invest in NPS. These are the major tax limits on which you can claim deduction. However, it does come with, like I earlier said, that it does come with a lot of restrictions. So the first and the basic restrictions that it comes with is that you need to invest in NPS up to 60 years of age. So once you attain 60 years of age, you can you can withdraw 60% of the amount of the corpus. By corpus, I mean the amount which you invested and the return which you got on those investments. So you can withdraw 60% of the investment. However, 40% needs to be mandatory invested in an annuity plan. So an annuity plan means that you can get the pension in amount which in a form of pension post 60 years of age. Okay, so by in recently, I guess the government has announced a scheme of triple E, which is an exempt status, a limited exempt status to NPS. By this, I mean that when a person invests in NPS, the amount which he invests, he can claim deduction on tax. So that means that he is not required to pay tax on that. On the returns which he is getting, that is also exempt, so you are not liable to pay tax on that also. And at the age of 60, when you withdraw amount up to 60%, that is also tax free. So it's kind of a promotion, but the 40% is taxable as per your tax slab. So that is the very first basic withdrawal restrictions, or restriction in form of which we can talk about in NPS. There comes two exceptions to it. The first one is in case the subscriber to an NPS wants to exit NPS. So if he wants to exit NPS before the age of 60, he can exit NPS provided he has invested. He can withdraw up to 20% of the corpus, but 80% needs to be mandatorily invested into NPS, into the annuity pension plans. And in case he wants to withdraw without exiting the NPS scheme, then he can withdraw. A maximum number of time that he can withdraw from the NPS account is 3 times, and up to a limit of 25% of his contribution. By the word his contribution, I mean the contribution which he has given to NPS and the returns which he has earned. So in case the employer has invested in NPS, he cannot withdraw that particular amount. So the ceiling limit of 25% does not count the employer's contribution to NPS.
Yeah.
I hope it answers majority of the questions.
Yes, it does. So I think, Surbhi, you have answered almost all the questions and doubts that I had with respect to NPS, and I'm sure that this Q&A session is going to help a lot of people to know more about the new pension scheme and the national pension scheme in general. Thank you so much for joining us in.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Dhaira. Thanks a lot. It was nice to have you.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you.